Hello, there is a huge football game coming up this Saturday on Midco Sports in Brookings, the South Dakota showdown with the Jackrabbits and the Coyotes. We'll have Jay Elsen and Andre Fields with the pregame show at 1:30, the kick at 2 o'clock, myself and Curtis Riggs. And this rivalry has gotten really good in the last 2 years because the Coyotes
are winning some games in it, right?
Yes.
I mean, they say that a rivalry isn't really a rivalry unless both sides are winning, and we heard that actually the first few years of the Division I era of this particular game, but the last two have gone the way of the Yote, and that certainly added a little extra intrigue as we get ready for the 2022 version of this whole deal.
South Dakota State had won 10 in a row up until the last two. We're in Vermillion. This is the first time they played in Brookings since 2018, and the last time they played there, the Jackrabbits put up 49, won a 49-27. SDSU's been able to get out to some quick starts in the games in Brookings.
And that's been the key with this game in this setting at Data J. Dyke House, going back to Coughlin alumni. SDSU has jumped all over the Yotes in the first quarter in particular. If you go back to 2012 and look at every game they played in Brookings, 77-7 is the difference in the first quarter. It was 2016, Chris Strevler's year, that the Yotes were hanging in there after 15 minutes. It was just 7-0. Every other game has been at least a 21-point difference heading to the second quarter. Yotes can't have that if they want to be in this game on Saturday.
And other than that one game, 5 of the last 6 games have been within a touchdown.
Yeah, and the key there, a lot of those have been in Vermillion, except for the one that we were talking about. That was 28-21 back in 2016. So, and one of the big keys here has been that Jackrabbit running game. They've been so dominant in that regard in Brookings against USD. They are averaging in this game against USD 250 plus on the ground in Brookings and over 500 yards of total offense. But the last two in particular have been especially troubling from the USD side of things. Jack's averaging 369 yards rushing. Yotes have averaged 399 yards total in the last 2 games in Brookings. They're going to have to slow that ground game and Isaiah Davis down on Saturday to hang with the Jacks this time around. Certainly easier said than done when that guy's coming off a near 200-yard effort himself.
Yeah, he had 199 last week, but Davis has not played against the Coyotes. Neither has Mark Gronowski, the SDSU quarterback.
Right, which is kind of strange when you think about it. Carson Camp, who came in the same year as Mark Gronowski, has played in this game twice, and Mark has not had the opportunity to. So it'll be interesting to see how they adjust to their first time as actually putting the pads on and getting out there in this game. Of course, last year Isaiah Davis was out with a bum shoulder, I think, or a collarbone or something that he wasn't able to go, and certainly made a difference, you would have to believe, to not have those two guys out there.
All right, we're 5 minutes into this thing already, and we haven't talked about the way last year's game ended. How does that affect anything?
Wait, did something happen last year?
It was pretty exciting.
Oh, yeah, we've beaten that to death, certainly 10 times over. Well, I guess it depends on what perspective you're looking at it from, but certainly one of the more incredible finishes you're ever going to see in this series, and I don't think that part of it is arguable, regardless of which side of the fence you were on for that. It was unbelievable. You just don't get to see a Hail Mary finish all that often in football, and we happen to have it in the biggest game in our state on our air, which was extra exciting for us, certainly. But, yeah, as you look for, I think everybody's saying the right things going into this game. It was last year. We're not thinking about it. I don't think there's anybody out there who really believes, especially in the SDSU side of things, that you're not thinking a little bit about how you'd like to make amends for what happened in that final second last year at the Dakota Dome. So I don't buy that, but at the same time, you can't really go out and just say, yeah, we're consumed by that. Right. No, this is this year. Both of these teams are very different, and it's a different point of the season, too. That was, toward the end of the regular season, still a lot on the line. You could argue that got the Yotes into the playoffs last year or helped significantly, whereas this year we're talking about this game in early October. Different feel all the way around.
Yeah, usually you have these in-state rivalries at the end of the season. I kind of like it. Yeah. Right now it adds a little bit of pop here early in the season. But yeah, everybody in Brookings is saying, yeah, we haven't forgotten about it, and we're not going to let you think that we're thinking about it, but it's got to be huge motivation for the Jackrabbits going into this one. What are your thoughts on how this thing comes out? South Dakota State trying to keep it rolling as they're off to a good start in Missouri Valley play, and overall, USD's had that tough schedule early on, and they don't have to win this game, obviously, but this is one they want to get.
It's not a must-win. I mean, very few of those exist to begin with, but especially at this point of the season, I don't think it'd be fair to label it as such. But at the same time, USD needs some confidence. They've gotten battered and bruised over the first month of the season between Kansas State, Montana, North Dakota State. So they've played. This is their third game already against a top 3 team in FCS football, which is crazy because it's October, early October at this point. But certainly a win here would go a long way toward kind of rekindling that energy and that excitement that this team had about it going into last year when they reached the playoffs for the second time under Bob Nielsen. But it starts with the start. Again, we circle back to that. They can't afford to get in a hole like they have against SDSU in Brookings in previous matchups. They've got to avoid that. And then they've got to get better play or more consistent play out of the quarterback spot. Carson Camp was phenomenal in their one win against Cal Poly. Completed 85% of his passes for 355 yards and 3 touchdowns. Ran for another score that day. The problem is in the other 3 games, he's completed 51% of his passes for 378, no touchdowns, 3 picks. I think a lot of their success is going to hinge on how 18 plays on Saturday.
And we'll see how SDSU plays it. SDSU's run defense has been fantastic.
And that's been the strength offensively for USD to this point.
Yeah, through the first 5 games. So can USD get Travis Tice going? Does SDSU take that away, make camp, try to throw it? We'll see how it goes. It's going to be really fun to watch. Coming up Saturday, 2 o'clock kick, 1:30 pregame with the guys here on Midco Sports. We'll see you then.